Hello, everyone, live from a hotel room. You see the ring light in my eyes. This is kind of impromptu. I didn't expect to make a video while I was away, but of course, something major happened, and I'm definitely talking about this. So, this is regards to the Switch pricing or Switch 2 pricing. It's high. A lot of people are afraid with the tariffs in the States that it's going to go even higher. And Nintendo's been very weird about the pricing of it. They don't really want to address it. At a media roundtable they had on Wednesday, people asked about the price and they're like, "Oh, we're just here for the fun stuff. Let's not talk about that." It's like, okay. Everyone wants you to talk about the pricing. There's been live events that Nintendo had on their YouTube channel, and everyone there was saying, bring down the price, whether it be the hardware, whether it be the games. People are not happy with what Nintendo chose for the pricing of the Switch 2. Now, look, like I've said before, it has a lot of features that I didn't expect Nintendo to go for, like the high refresh rate screen. But nonetheless, people are not used to Nintendo products being so expensive, even though you could still get the Switch OLED for $350, which boggles my mind. But anyway, Nintendo of America president Doug Bowser had a very interesting response. Now, if you remember, it feels like another lifetime ago, during E3 2013, Don Matrick, who is the CEO of Xbox at the time, he was asked by Jeff Keighley. The big issue with the Xbox One was the always online thing that they were trying to push, which in 2013 was pretty premature. And his answer was absolutely amazing.
It's a great line for games.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think people are going to love it, and then they're going to understand what we're trying to create and how it links games and entertainment, the functionality of the box, some of the advantages that you get of having a box that is designed to use an online state. So that, to me, is a future-proof choice, and I think people could have arguably gone the other way if we didn't do it, and fortunately we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360.
Right. So stick with 360. That's your message. If you don't, people don't like it.
If you have zero access to the internet, that is an offline device. I mean, seriously, when I read the blogs and thought about who's really the most impacted, there was a person who said, "Hey, I'm on a nuclear sub, and I don't even know what it means to be on a nuclear sub, but I've got to imagine that it's not easy to get an internet connection."
Don't have internet or don't have continuous access to the internet? Get our previous generation hardware. What a great way to sell. I mean, I'm kind of giving you a summary of what he said there, but he went into a whole thing. Oh, there was some guy who messaged us or left a message and said he's in the military and he's on a nuclear sub and he doesn't have internet. So we told, get an Xbox 360. Really, many people argue that interview with Jeff Keighley and Don Matrick, that Xbox hasn't recovered from that interview to this day. That's how awful it was. Well, Doug Bowser, the president of Nintendo of America, decided that, you know what? I'm going to take a play out of Don Matrick's playbook, and I'm going to basically say the same thing about the Switch 2 in regards to price. This is what he had to say. Nintendo, I guess they're feeling arrogant after how wildly successful the original Switch was. We recognize there are some people that may not be able to afford the Switch 2's price point. That's why we wanted to make the other Switch platforms available, so people still have an opportunity to come into our gaming universe, be a part of these characters in these worlds, and see value, if you will, in whatever rung of the platform they come in. Now, Bowser also went on to talk about how he thinks that the Switch 2 could be just as successful as the original Switch. Here's what he had to say about that. Sure, there are extenuating outside circumstances that could affect positively or negatively, and we can't necessarily control those. What we can control is that we think we've got a device that is going to bring more developers onto the platform. I do agree with that, if you don't screw up the launch, that we can lean into as a developer ourselves or a publisher ourselves, and as a result bring a lot of smiles to people's faces. Now, the outside circumstances he's referring to are the tariffs. I've beaten those to death before in terms of what they could do for how affordable the Switch 2 is. But that's a really bad thing to say. It was really awful for Microsoft to tell you, oh, you don't have the proper internet connectivity? Get our previous generation hardware. And Doug Bowser's doing exactly the same thing. Granted, it's about the price of the Switch 2, but so you're telling people to stay away from the next generation hardware if they can't afford it, because the price of it is, many people, including me, feel is too high. I understand the tech that's in there, and it's comparable to an ROG Ally or something along those lines, or it's more powerful than a Steam Deck, at least from what I'm reading. But the average consumer is not seeing that. They're seeing a successor to the Switch 2 that is $450. Hopefully it stays there. Or if you get the limited edition bundle with Mario Kart World, is going to be $499. And that is a huge asking price for a Nintendo console, and people are not used to that. And for a Nintendo of America president to come out and say, just, I don't know, get a Switch Lite. It's like, what are you doing? Look, do I think that the Switch 2 is going to fumble like the original Xbox One did? No. But you could just tell by how Nintendo is reacting. There's so much value in Mario Kart World that's why we could ask $80 for it. And with Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which is $80 if you want to get the Switch 2 edition and you just get it retail. And if you have the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack, you could actually get the upgrades to games like Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom for free. But people may not have that. People may just have the basic Nintendo Switch Online, or maybe the Switch 2 is their first Switch console, and you're going to ask $80 for a game that they could have gotten on the original Switch because there's graphics upgrades and frame rate upgrades. Every company does this. You could say it about Microsoft going from the 360 generation to the Xbox One generation. They were very confident, and that's why they stumbled with the Xbox One. Sony stumbled with the PlayStation 3 because of how wildly successful the PS2 was. And I'm hoping, honestly, against hope with how they're acting right now, that Nintendo may fumble the launch of the Switch 2 because of how wildly successful the Switch was. Remember, companies or corporations are run by people, and people have egos. And if their previous product blew up, their egos may not let them see reality. It's just how human nature is, and every Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo have done it in the past before. And it seems like Nintendo is going to do it again. Just like they did with the Wii. Well, I don't think the Switch 2 is going to do bad like the Wii U, but we'll see. There could be issues. This is Rich of Rich Tomorrow, signing out from my hotel room. Sorry if this video is kind of a disaster, and sorry if you see nothing but Mr. Magoo reflections in my glasses. I'll be back home soon. Have a good one.
Hey, if you watched the whole video, what the hell are you doing? You're not subbed yet? Click that sub button. I live stream here all the time. We have a good time. Make sure to become a subscriber. It's free. Click the button now and hit that bell too. Be a man.